Cobb TV. Watch your life make sense.
Music amazingly connected to your soul. It's a great expression of feeling. It really, you can describe so much without words and just with, a melody. And it's, not many people can really describe how they feel connected. My name is Patrice Perry. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and my family's from the Caribbean. And now I live in New York City. When I was little, I wanted to be an actress. But then I also, was studying music, so playing piano and singing was important to me. I grew up going to church, so my family's Christian, and it was a little bit of life straight out of Jesus camp. I could just recite verbatim whatever they taught me in Sunday school. So I'm on the school bus with every other little kid, and of course I have to be good buddies with the kid whose parents are atheists. And as much as we were good buddies, that just wasn't going to work for me. So it was my job to tell her that, no, your parents can't be atheists because there is a God and there's Jesus. And if you don't believe that, then you're going to hell. And so this is what I told my friend, who then told her parents, who then had to have a talk with my mom. And my mom was like, okay, I appreciate your enthusiasm and that's all good and everything, but you can't really go around telling your friends they're going to go to hell. And that, I guess, that was what gave me my outlook on life and, the beyond and whatnot. So, it was all about God and Jesus, and that was fine for a while. That gave me some sort of sense of comfort, and hope and that kind of thing. It just kind of meant that, there was more for me after death. This wasn't the whole enchilada, that there was more to my life than what I could see, because I was not content with the concept that was it. I got a job in New York City, working for a church, which is really funny because of all, my pursuits that had really never been on the list of things. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go make a difference in the lives of the youth. And I guess sort of 6 months into it, I really kind of started a more intense search. I wanted more understanding. You have this book that's 1,000 pages that tells amazing tales of amazing things happening. And you're like, well, okay, that happened then and doesn't happen now. What's different? How come, people aren't just running around, parting seas and raising the dead and healing people on the spot and stuff. And there was always this sort of answer in the background of there's only so much that you could understand, and that, some things would just never be clear until you actually died, and then you get the answers, which was not a good enough answer for me. And, around that time, there was a certain sense that I'd found that there was a process that was sort of becoming clear to me, of kind of highs and lows, ups and downs. And I was becoming afraid of being happy, because I realized that the moment I was happy, that everything would all go to hell. Even mild contentment, that's when something would come and smack you from behind and knock you down further than you could ever possibly imagine. And I was just really tired of that happening, because I like being happy and I wanted to stay there. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't. And it didn't matter what I did, it would just be things completely out of my control that I couldn't do anything about or change. And I was just desperate to stop the cycle. That's what it was. I was desperate to stop the cycle. Boom, on Google, there was, the website Kabbalahinfo. It was a website with amazing amounts of information, and it was all there, and it was free. I was like, there's something to that. Because I also figured that if somebody really had real knowledge that they felt was important to share that people would have to know, they probably wouldn't charge me for it. And so it was like, here's our website. Here's everything we know. Enjoy, download, do whatever you want, peruse. So I immediately signed up for, the online course. One had just finished. I spent the entire summer perusing the archives. I couldn't wait till the beginning of September. Remember the first class, I sat down, I had my snacks, my juice, my water, so I wouldn't have to move anywhere. I went to the bathroom and I sat down for an hour and a half and I didn't move. That was it. It was entirely new to me. I mean, I came to understand why my ups and downs existed, why I couldn't stay happy, and why, crap would always follow happy. There was always happy, then crap, then happy, then crap. And in a very, simple way, it was broken down for me, clearly and so concretely. I mean, that was the thing, that it was concrete. It wasn't vague. It wasn't sort of you'll figure it out if you meditate hard enough. It was this is what happens, this is why it happens, and this is what will happen after that. And, and then it was so obvious outside of everything else that I had seen or heard or read. It was obvious. It was like a ton of bricks. It was like a lightning bolt. It was like, why didn't anybody tell me that before? It was relief, really, that I know that I don't have to live that way anymore. And that I don't have to be forever subject to the roller coaster that life has always been. Everything wasn't just kind of left up in the air. Things weren't just left to chance. And that I had some ability to affect my life. It's when you understand what there is to fear or what there isn't to fear, I guess is sort of a big thing. I mean, knowing that I don't have to actually be afraid of the dark, there's no reason, there is nothing lurking in the shadows for me to have any concern about. That is really, really empowering, to not go to bed at night and not be thinking about all the horrible things that I can't see that can happen. That was an interesting thing that I never really thought about, the fear that was there, but when it was gone, it was like, oh, wow. It's very different. And, in a work environment where, you sit there and you're listening to sermon after sermon on, expounding on the Old Testament and, Exodus. And you're like, what's going on inside of me is just, it's amazing, because I'm remembering everything that I'm taught, and I'm listening to what's being said, and I'm knowing that nothing that is read, nothing that they're talking about, that they're reading, is actually describing anything physical. It's describing an inner world, your inner world, my inner world. And it's not about marching in the desert, quite literally. It's the wilderness that's inside you. And, I get a weekly reminder of that, expounded in a completely different way, but there it is, time after time. It's great. I mean, like I said, it's trippy, but in a really kind of cool way, because again, you really can't forget about, everything around me is inside me. And that's something that you don't just kind of forget about. before my fear, was the end of my happiness and the end of, whatever pleasure. And now that I'm, working towards, a life that has endless and abundant and renewing pleasure and happiness in the spiritual pleasure, because that's what remains. Like that, it's not going anywhere. There's no end to that, and so that is probably the greatest thing that it could possibly have offered me. Because everything else, it dies and you fall into depression, and there it is. I had my high and now it's over, and I have to go find another one. But to have a continuous stream, sort of never-ending happiness that is provided, via the spiritual, it, puts, everything in great perspective. To get on the bus. Well, I wouldn't be preaching. I would probably tell her that she doesn't have anything to worry about. And I'm not telling them that they're going to hell, because I know that they're not. I'm not chasing the prize, for on my deathbed. And that's actually good to know. And it's good to know that that the spirituality that I was searching for is not something I have to wait for, dying. And that actually, funny enough, is what I wanted to know, because everything was all about, well, you'll know it when you die, and you can know it while you live. And that is, I think, the hugest thing that has, changed my perspective.